My name is Galbenu and I work for the National Trust here at Studland Bay in this beautiful location right by the seaside. I am the engagement officer for the Dynamic Dunescapes project, and that is a nationwide project all about restoring our sand dunes and bringing them back to life. There's so much that I love about this job. First of all, it's got to be where I work. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. I cycle into work every day, cycle through this wonderful, beautiful nature reserve. And for me, I mean, the outdoors nature, that is my inspiration for what I do and why I want to do it. So being able to just be in this area of work inspires me every day for what I'm doing. Really makes me realise kind of the cause that I'm fighting for. But you know, it's also much more than that. The people that I work with are absolutely fantastic. Everyone in the National Trust has been so supportive and so encouraging, but also really challenging. As well as that, all the volunteers that I work with, they've just absolutely made the job, been so much fun. And then what I'm actually doing, I mean, every day I'm just trying to figure out different ways to engage people. You know, when I'm actually doing the actual practical stuff, that's always so much fun. But I also really enjoy the planning beforehand, the kind of problem solving, thinking strategically, what is the best way to do this? I've got to say, I think I love everything about it. So, in really basic terms, our sand dunes are slowly turning into heathland and into forest. So the Dynamic Dunescapes project is all about bringing the dunes back to life. It's about restoring these kind of bare, open, sandy patches that all those rare species rely on. And the really great thing about the project is that this goes hand in hand with people engagement. So in the past, there was this pretty strong perception that you weren't really allowed to walk on the sand dunes, that they needed to be protected, that if you walked on them, you would be harming them in some way. So the Dynamic Dunescapes project is actually about getting people out onto the sand dunes to be able to learn about them, to be able to see how wonderful and diverse and beautiful they are, and also know that they can have a really positive impact on the dunes. They can help the dunes by walking on them, by doing conservation work for them, by learning about them. So that's kind of what my job is really all about. It's about trying to target as many people as possible from all different areas to be able to learn about the dunes, appreciate them, fall in love with the dunes, and also help protect them. So this is the Dune Heath, which is an area in the dunes, and we can see there's actually this tiny little pine tree here. Now, not all pine trees are bad, but this is kind of an example of how our dunes are becoming over-vegetated and over-stabilised. We're so close to the sea right now. The sea's just over here, over there. 30, 40 years ago, you would have never seen any sort of pine trees here, but they slowly started to encroach the area. So one of the things that we're doing, the conservation volunteers, is they will be pulling out pine saplings like this, clearing out the area and just trying to make it more open and prevent that kind of invasive spread of all the pine trees. I don't think there is a typical working day for me. Every day is completely different. One day I could be out on the dunes here working with volunteer groups, collecting data on the dunes or doing engagement activities. Another day I could be working with schools or local community groups. Another day I could be writing articles for a local newsletter, doing social media posts. It is all forms of engagement, whether that's in person, face-to-face, digital. Every day is very different. I've always absolutely loved nature. I love being outdoors, always loved science, loved learning, but I've also really loved being creative and writing. So I think for a really long time I've known I want to do science communication or outdoor nature engagement. So I studied biology at university, and then I went on to do lots and lots of different kind of jobs all around the world. And so this kind of just fitted really naturally of what I wanted to do coming back home to England. I really just wanted to make a real change here in the UK, help our natural world. And this is just a job that allowed me to do that. So I feel very lucky to have it. I would say I followed a very traditional route in education. You know, at sixth form I studied biology, chemistry and combined English literature and language. And then I went to university. I studied at Oxford, studied biological sciences, which was all really great, really fantastic. I mean, I absolutely loved learning. I'm quite a nature nerd, really. I just love learning that all, and I loved at college studying English as well, to being able to have that creativity. But I don't know if I would say that university was 100% necessary for what I'm doing. I think it was amazing, giving me a foundation in biology and a real kind of sense of confidence in knowing this area of work and understanding the real basics and the science behind it. But really, I think the essentials to getting this job, and I kind of advise other people, would just be to get as much experience as you can out in the field doing what you want to do. And sometimes that experience isn't actually going to be getting the experience of what you actually think you want to do. Actually just get any sort of experience you can and then try and tailor that role that you have there to what your interests are. So a lot of the times I was doing jobs which were maybe quite standard, but actually I had the opportunity in those places to be able to do something extra, which then led me to be able to do this kind of work, which was more about environmental engagement and education. Yes, a lot of volunteer work. I think something that is very typical with being able to get into conservation or nature, environmentalism, anything in that kind of career, you've got to do your share of volunteer work. And the thing is that you do it because you also love it. So actually at sixth form, I spent a year volunteering at Marwell Wildlife Park. I worked as a kind of engagement volunteer there, basically just talking to the members of the public about the animals, their behaviour, their adaptations. I worked in this little, I don't know, how do you call it, like a little exhibit house basically, which had lots of like animal furs and skeletons and turtle shells, and people would just come in and I would just chat to them about it. And I did that for a year. And I think that was really the beginning of my kind of volunteering. And ever since then, I've done some sort of volunteering. Every time I have a little space of time, I'll fill it with volunteering. So I've done clearing invasive species, Himalayan balsam. At university, after my first year, I spent the summer in Peru, in the Amazon, collecting data to be able to help conserve the Amazon rainforest. That was amazing. And after uni, I also did a real good fair share of volunteer work as well. I think it's pretty essential to be able to get into this kind of job. So I think a lot of people would be really surprised to find out that conservation does fall into the creative industries. I think conservation has a bit of a stereotype to it sometimes. You kind of imagine these very outdoorsy people either studying this really tiny specific species that no one really cares about, or they are cutting down trees or doing some sort of conservation work. I think those are your kind of two general stereotypes. But the conservation world is actually way more diverse than that, and it needs to be more diverse than that too. We are trying to restore our planet, we're trying to protect the species and trying to have a better tomorrow. So it can't just be about those physical actions and that kind of small scale, whether it's the science or whether it's the conservation work. It's got to actually be this thing that actually unites everyone together. And I think that's where the engagement comes in with the conservation. And I think the engagement aspect of conservation is very creative, because you are making videos to engage people, you're doing social media posts, you're writing, all of those things are very creative, but you're also just having to think every day about how is the best way to engage this group of people that don't actually really care about sand dunes or about the natural world. How do I create those connections with nature for those people? And I think that's where you have to get creative. All right then, well, if we have a look over here. So this is sheep's bit and this is cat's ear. These are both positive indicator species on the dunes, and they, as you can see, they grow in the bare sand, and they have a ton of really cool rare invertebrates that need them to be able to grow. So essentially, the more of these guys that we see, the healthier our dune system is. So they are a good sign that our dunes are doing well. And the Citizen Science volunteers, we are monitoring these species of plants. We're basically recording their presence all over the dune system, and hopefully as the Dynamic Dunescapes project goes on and we open up more of the dunes, we get more bare sand, we're going to see more of these species, and it's going to show that our dunes are in a healthier state. My advice to somebody, if they wanted to get involved in conservation or engagement, communication, anything like that, is that you've just got to go out and do it as much as you can, whether that is volunteering or doing it for work or actually just doing it on your own. So for me, I started off just a lot of my free time doing it by myself. So when I was outdoors writing blogs, writing articles, filming vlogs, doing social media posts, whatever, I think that's actually where you gain a lot of your skills. You've got to find that right style for yourself. You've got to figure out where you fit in with the kind of engagement and communication world, because there's so many different ways that you can approach it. The only way that you can really find that out is just by going out and doing it. When it comes to engagement, when it comes to communication, it's not just one thing. You've got to have skills to be able to write, but also to present, to be able to talk to people face to face, to be able to deliver school trips with kids, you know, whatever that is, you've really got to have a diverse level of skills. So I think it's something that you've just got to always be trialing out different things and almost ticking off as many different skills as you can get. And all those skills don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be an expert at filming or anything. You just have to know a little bit about each of those things to feel confident that when it comes down to it, you can say, yeah, I can do that. One thing is that you just shouldn't be intimidated to be able to go into the area of work that you want to go into. I think with the creative industries, it can be really daunting sometimes. There's tons of really inspirational people in those areas of work, and it can feel like, how are you ever going to fill these kind of shoes? And I feel like they're definitely in the conservation world. I mean, I know he's a big guy, but David Attenborough, I mean, come on, like, you know. So I would just say to people, you can't be scared of that, and you've just got to really have confidence in yourself that you can do it, and put yourself out there time and time again. Apply for those jobs that maybe seem a bit too far reaching, because you never know what's going to happen. I nearly didn't even apply to the job that I have right now because I didn't think I was going to get it. I thought it was too difficult for me. I thought I was too underqualified, or not even underqualified, but too young for it. And I applied and I got it. So I think you've just got to do that. You've got to constantly put yourself out there, because you never know what opportunity you're going to get.